Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old-school RuneScape video. The highly anticipated Leagues 5 Raging Echoes drops this Wednesday. With a ton of hype around the event, and with more interest than ever on this amazing game mode, I thought it would be a good idea to make a video containing all the information you need to know about Leagues. Boys and girls, to celebrate the release of another League event, 3 subscribers will walk away with 1 bond each. So hit that subscribe button and stick around till the end of the video to learn how to participate. You can also join our Discord server with the link in the description to play with me and our amazing community. In this video, I will go over every single thing you should know before the League's event. Whether you are a veteran who has played since the Twisted League, have played 1 or 2 leagues in the past few years, or even if you're an absolute beginner, I can guarantee you will learn something useful from this video. We will talk about what Leagues is, what makes it fun, what you get for unlocking content, rewards, and most importantly, relevant content and items in each of the 9 regions. If you think this video doesn't answer one of your burning questions, come to my daily live streams or our Discord server to brainstorm together. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the ultimate Leagues 5 Raging Echoes guide. So for the uninitiated, if I could summarize the Leagues with one sentence, it is an official private server. Leagues is a members-only temporary game mode in old-school RuneScape, where players have 2 months to complete as many tasks as possible, which yield the points depending on the difficulty of the task. This time around, Leagues 5 follows the same format of area restrictions, and your points will help you unlock up to 3 areas along Mistalin and Karamja, and a ton of powerful relics, which is basically like playing old-school RuneScape on steroids. Some let you obtain double resources and auto-bank them, and others let you do crazy things like automatically pickpocket or wearing an item for passive agility experience when running. The catch is that everyone starts as a fresh Iron account with 5 times experience rates and unlimited run energy. If you hop to a League's world, you will appear in Lumbridge as a brand new account. This does not mean that your account got reset, but you are now logged into your League's account. Whatever progress you achieve, you may go back to any member's world to play the game as normal. Think of it as a game with different save files. This means that you may not use the same account to play the main game and also the League's game mode. You can think of points as an extended achievement diary system, but instead of being region locked, some tasks are open to the entire map and you get points for completing them. When you start, you may achieve a task such as chopping a tree for a small amount of points to progress the account. In the mid-game, you could earn points by achieving, for example, base level 50s. Late and even end-game tasks get pretty crazy, like obtaining all unique items from a boss or a raid, or even maxing your account. Obtaining points will serve 2 purposes in Leagues. First, you'll be able to select up to 3 new regions to explore for a new set of challenges, and most importantly, more tasks to complete. And second, points also offer progress towards powerful relics and passive effects that you can simply think of as cheat codes in the main game. Some of my favorite ones from Leagues 4 were plants growing automatically and giving you triple resources, and a combat-based one that increased your max hit on full HP bosses based on missing hit points you had. So let's talk about the first point. When it comes to area unlocks, you will also have quests related to the region automatically completed for you. This is a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you unlock Fremennik, for example, quests like Dragon's Lair 2 and Secrets of the North, as well as every single prerequisite quest, will be done as soon as you confirm your region. On the other hand, you'll be skipping on experience awarded by these quests, and with the League's experience multiplier, this could be a big hit because you don't get anything from the auto-completed quests except for items related to them, which you can reclaim later. If your region combination allows you to complete a prerequisite quest before unlocking a region, it might be a good idea to consider doing it yourself just for the experience payout. If you remember, I also used the word passive effect. The more points you amass, you'll unlock more relics, typically up to 7 or 8. Every time you pick a new relic, which is a permanent choice, you will get a global passive effect for the account. In previous leagues, these increase your experience multiplier from 5 to 8 to 12 and finally to 16 times. And unique item drop rates are boosted to times 2, 3, and 4 at the highest rate. So not only will you be getting points for relics, but to accelerate your experience and item gains. Before we move on to a brand new aspect coming to Leagues 5, let's remind you what you get in the main game for participating in the league. After the event is over, every point you obtain will count as a League's reward currency, and you'll be able to buy cosmetics for yourself or to sell your spoils on the Ground Exchange. You can also buy items from previous leagues in case you missed out. It is important to note that costs for the newest items are not yet known, as Jagex waits about 2 or 3 weeks to see how people advance, and to make it fair for most people to be able to buy some cosmetics in the shop. Last and most importantly, depending on how many points you complete at the end of the league, you'll obtain a trophy. In previous iterations of the league, ranks went from bronze all the way to dragon, and these tiers would be divided by the percentage of players in each point threshold. To achieve the Dragon Trophy, the best in the league, you needed to be in the top 1% of players at the end of the league. From Leagues 4 onwards, ranks are now a static number of points, but players may still compete for ranks in the high scores. When the league comes to an end, your league's account will only keep your rank and the pets it achieved throughout the entire event, and they will follow you to any future iteration of the game mode. This remains true for previous leagues, so if you achieved, for example, a pet in the first one, 2 in the second one, 3 in the third one, and 1 in the fourth one, they will all follow you to Raging Echoes and beyond. Other than this, it will be completely wiped in preparation for the next one. I now want to dedicate a portion of the video to one of, if not the most important change introduced in Leagues 5 Raging Echoes. In previous leagues, we were given 3 combat relics to choose from, which all boosted the respective combat style massively. At the time of making this video, we don't know if combat relics will return, but we now have a combat mastery tree to pick powerful effects from. You can think of combat masteries as a traditional skill tree in other MMORPGs. When you have skill points to invest in a path of your choice, active and passive effects continue to build up power. This is the case in Leagues 5, but the process won't be as complicated. So, how does this work? The image you are seeing on screen right now shows up to 6 tiers for both active effects for melee, ranged, and magic, as well as passive effects at the bottom. Completing the tasks you see on the bottom left will give you 1 combat mastery point, which you can spend on any combat style. This will give you both the active effect of your choice and will unlock the passive effect at the bottom. This means that if you have 2 mastery points to spend and you pick melee 1, you will have that effect and the passive effect at the bottom. Pick melee 2 with your second point and you will get that active effect as well as the second passive effect. However, if you do melee 1 and ranged 1 for example, you won't unlock the second tier of the passive effect because you didn't go farther into the mastery tree. I will now tell you how to obtain 5 or up to 6 mastery points as early as day 1, and give you viable options for builds regardless of what combat styles you want to focus on. This will be my personal plan to get early combat mastery points, which may not be the perfect path for everyone, but you could mold it to your playstyle. I will go to the Stronghold of Security to get my 10k to buy a staff and runes, and then go to the Brimhaven dungeon to kill a fire giant for 1 point. Head down to where the black demons are and kill 10 of them for another point. With 2 mastery points, I will then train melee through Slayer until level 57 to kill Zygomites and Scenaris for point number 3. With higher combat stats, I will then go to kill Scurious on my own for point number 4, and from there on out, decide if I want to grind it there for a little bit thanks to the accelerated experience in a group, and reach combat level 100 for point number 5. My first region pick will be Mauritania, and thanks to the Clue Compass relic, I'll be spamming barrels until I get a Kaoz crossbow, gather all supplies needed for a fire cape, and beating Jad will grant me point number 6. The remaining points come from defeating each Echo boss in your region, and finally defeating Tiskal Zuk in the Inferno for a total of 10 points. For a lot of you this may sound like a steep requirement, but trust me, there's no better time to learn the Inferno than during leagues. With an insane amount of power, both waves and the final boss will be a piece of cake. With Combat Masteries, we also gotta talk about mega weapons. In previous leagues, you would only get a mega weapon corresponding to the raid region of your choice. Debo from Chambers in Kourend, Scythe from TOB in Mauritania, and Shadow from TOA in the desert. This time around, any raid will have a chance to drop a new item called a Mega Weapon Voucher, which you'll be able to exchange for any mega weapon of your choice with a Sage in Lumbridge. Another important change in raids that I got incorrect for my last video is that purple mechanics will work the same for every raid, of course boosted by the better drop rates with higher tier relic passives. However, if you do a hard mode Theater of Blood, or a 500 plus invocation in Tombs of a Masked run, if someone rolls a purple, every single person will receive a purple, which incentivizes people going for higher difficulty rates and teams, while solo rates have been nerfed just a little bit. All of these changes mean that now, you are not quote-unquote forced to pick a region that contains a raid, which yields a mega weapon, which complements your combat relic of choice. As long as you pick either Kourend, Mauritania, or the desert, you can have all 3 mega weapons if you decide to challenge yourself, and get into raiding if you have never done it before. For veterans, this will be a no-brainer. Okay, to close out the combat segment, I will now tell you potential viable builds to spend your combat mastery points and have even more fun in the league. Quick reminder that you can follow any order regardless of combat style, and mix and match your points according to your needs. This means that if I say, for example, 6 and 4, you could do 6 melee, 4 ranged, 6 ranged, 4 magic, or 6 magic, 4 melee, and so on. Not knowing anything about potential combat relics, echo bosses, and if they pray or not, I may still go for 6 melee, 4 ranged. This means that my melee weapons will have a chance of dealing echo hits for more damage, and I will receive the active effects for ranged up to tier number 4. If I see that my region's echo bosses don't rely on prayer, there's a small chance that I will go for 5 melee, 5 ranged, to have 2 tick scythe and the T-bow for insane DPS. You could also do 6, 3, 1, and spend a single point on a combat style you won't be focusing on, but might feel useful if you want to take on encounters for which you need all 3 combat styles. For example, 6 mage, 3 melee and 1 ranged if you want to do the Tombs of a Mascot. Another option could be 6, 2 and 2, and give your bottom 2 combat styles share the power as you dump all your points into your favorite one. If you think you won't be facing any difficult bosses or even going into any raids, you could potentially do 5-5 as well to boost your non-mega weapon damage. You can also think about something like 5-4-1, 5-3-2, and this will be a lot about exploiting at least one combat style to its full potential. As I've said in multiple videos, I'm not your dad and you can play however you want, but I would personally suggest not going anything that starts with 4. The league will be all about exploiting your strengths and not covering your weaknesses. If you think about builds like 4-4-2, 4-3-3, you may not pump as much damage as you can, because you'll be missing out on that double attack speed, and most importantly, those broken tier 6 passive effects. If you made it this far, let me know what build you are thinking of doing. In my League's 4th preparation video, I had an entire segment about every single region and all of the pros and cons related to each one, as well as interesting content, weapons and armor you will be able to find in each one. Instead of going in depth, I will do a quick dive into all of them, and I'll give you some useful resources after the segment. And I will once again use a beautiful graphic, none other than by Sean OSRS, so give him a follow on Twitter if you can. Just like before, we will start with Mistalin and Karamja fully unlocked. This includes Fossil Island and both the Tazar area and more Ulrek after you obtain a Fire Cape. Mistalin contains the Abyssal Sire, which you can access via Fairy Rings, Scurius, Jad, and Zug. And new to Leagues 5, we'll be able to fight to torment the demons, since while Gothic Sleeps is not needed. Up next we have Asgarnia, and the notable points of interest include the Godworth Dungeon, Pest Control, Cerberus, the Whisper, and the Dwarf Multi-Cannon. If you pick Desert along Asgarnia, you will be able to fortify your Masori armor for even more points. Remember that every Desert Treasure 2 boss will be dropping full rings, and each of the 4 pieces to assemble the Soul Reaper axe, and every drop will be unique for your first axe. After that, you may receive random pieces. If you pick the desert, you will have to suffer through the mage training arena. This is one of the only negatives about this region, because we also have the Tombs of a Mascot, Pyramid Plunder, Ancient Spells if not picking Grimoire, the Calphite Queen, Temperos, and Granite Mining for all your skilling needs. Going desert also unlocks the Leviathan despite being found in Mistalin at the Wizard's Tower, but the DT2 quest will be needed for the Giant Worm. Fremennik is an insane solar region because of encounters like the Dagonoth Kings, Vorkath, Duke Succulus, Phantom Muspa, and of course construction materials found in Keldegrim along the Blast Furnace. Unlocking this region also means that you'll have access to the Lunar Spellbook and Astral Runecrafting. You'll also have the Fremennik Slayer Dungeon, Jetiso, Natus Nod, 2 farming patches, and overall it seems like a pretty solid pick, even without echo items. Picking Kandarin is this league's version of being a walker in Leagues 1, and picking Fire Sail in Leagues 4. Despite it having a good amount of points for easy unlocks, this is by far the worst region in Leagues 5. All you have is the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil and the Kraken bosses, and other minor unlocks like Zenyte Jewelry and Piety. And of course we can't forget about having to do Barbarian Assault. If you want solid advice, do yourself a favor and avoid this region. On the other hand, a great region for tons of content is Mauritania. Not only do you have the featured encounter, the Theater of Blood, you also have the Nightmare, and more recently Araxor. You'll be able to farm Barrow's items, have a Slayer helmet, the Ectofunctus, access to Dark Mayor for blood shards, and the Hallowed Sepulchre, Salve amulets, and the list goes on. I am tempted to do a second run on my hardcore exclusively for Taranwin. You have the Corrupted Gauntlet, Zulra, Zalcano, the entire city of Prifinus, and although this area seems pretty small, you have a ton of content for the late and end game which will keep you busy for a few days. If you have enough crystal shards, you also have access to the fastest smithing and crafting training methods in the league. Despite me not loving the wilderness, it looks pretty fun to pick for tons of bosses and really good echo items. You'll be facing the King Black Dragon, Calvarian and Vedion, Spindle and Venenatis, Artio and Callisto, the Chaos Elemental, Chaos Fanatic, and the Deranged Archaeologist, as well as Revenants, and who could forget about the Corporeal Beast. If you have a thirst for bosses, I think this region has the highest amount of unique encounters to enjoy solo PvM for a long time. Kourend is absolutely overloaded with content in the form of Chambers of Xeric, the Alchemical Hydra, Sarachnis, Wintertoad, and Hespori, and a ton of content to train every single skill efficiently. I mean, it was home of the first league after all. No matter your relics and region picks, Kourend will complement every build quite nicely, and the chance of running out of things to do here will be pretty slim. Making its way to Leagues 5 for the first time, we have Valamor. Key pieces of content here include pickpocketing wealthy citizens, mining calcified rocks, the Colossal Worm agility course, Moons of Peril, the Colosseum, and of course we can't forget about the Wacoatl. More recently, we have had activities like Mastering Mixology, and the new Frost and Nagua dungeon for monsters and a pretty easy boss. New to this league, Vardorvis will be found in this region, which you'll be able to farm for Virtus Pieces, the Soul Reaper Axe, and most importantly, the Ultor Vestige. So that is a quick TLDR of every single region. Before we move on to the closing thoughts, I will tell you about my region and relic picks as of the time of making this video, November 21st. In this order, I'll be going Mauritania, Valamor, and Fremennik. Mauritania is my first pick because of the Ectofunctus for quick prayer experience, and grind Barrows quickly for good combat items when I can wear them. After that, I will go to Valamor to green log Moons Apparel and have better combat gear to challenge Echo Gargoyles for the Gloves of the Damned, and give my Barrows sets a ton of power. I will then unlock Fremennik to do a ton of solo content, and when I'm powerful enough, challenge the Echo Dagonoth Kings for the special items. I will then camp Tiobi until I get a scythe, and finally go to the Colosseum to challenge Soul Heredit, the only Grandmaster boss in the game. As for the relics, I'll be picking Power Miner because I think mining and smithing will be pretty difficult to train since I am unlocking Fremennik last, and I'm not going to have access to the Blast Furnace. My teleport relic this time will be the Clue Compass, because I will be spamming clue scrolls like an absolute degenerate after neglecting them in Leagues 4. I will go for Banker's Note again instead of picking Total Recall, because I think it's going to help with everything and not just combat. As it stands, I may go Overgrown because Combat Masteries will already do disgusting DPS, and I don't really think Piety, Rigor, and Augury will make a huge difference. As for the relics revealed today, I may go Dodgy Deals, which complements well with Overgrown, so I don't have to worry about farming and Herblore. As for Golden God, we don't know what it's up against. So boys and girls, for this final segment, I want to welcome you, Jack OSRS, who I'm pretty sure you have seen on your feed if you've been paying attention to Leagues 5 videos. He will be talking about his personal picks and explaining how they complement each other for maximum fun.
Hi, Jack here. I heard you wanted the inside scoop on what I am going to be doing during the league, so this is what I'm currently planning. Of course, we're going to all start with Misthalin and Karamja, and don't take these two regions lightly, they do have a lot to offer. And I just want to highlight, Scurious is going to solve all of my combat training problems. I am really looking forward to that. It is going to be some insane XP. Plus we have the Brimhaven agility course. That thing was changed and made a little bit nicer this year. So I think agility is already going to be solved from the start. So I'm excited about both of those things. Then I'm looking to take Barlamore first. This is going to give me things like Hunter Rumors, Sunfire Ruins, go into the Moons bosses, be able to pick up all of those sets. Oh, Barlamore gives like so much good stuff, man. And I'm gonna take that power straight into Kurend. Kurend has a ton of other skilling options. Wintertot is a big one, give you a lot of supplies there. And I'll be able to use all of my Barlamore armor to take on the Chambers of Zarek. Get myself, hopefully, a scythe, a twisted bow, you know, maybe a shadow. Probably not gonna go magic. Magic looks a little bit weak, if you're asking me. Throwing shade in here at mage. But once I am well lined up, I'm going straight into the Fremennik region, mainly for that Echo jewelry. It looks so strong. But with all of this together, I'm probably gonna end up going something like a 6-4 split with melee and range. And then on the relic side, these are the choices that I'm currently looking at. I am super looking forward to the Harpoon. Get myself some free fishing, cooking straight to the bank. Increase my success rate on the Hunter stuff, getting multiple chins. I hate training Hunter, dude. Probably gonna do some AoE thieving. Get myself the Compass Relic for the teleports. I think that one has the most fun potential there. Golden God's looking a little weak to me. I've already got my money problems solved with the Thieving Relic, so whatever that thing's up against is probably what I'm going with. Total Recall. Again, I think this one's got the most fun potential. Safe bet is definitely Banker's Note, don't get me wrong, but Total Recall, if I can have myself a special attack weapon, maybe like the Burning Claws from Tormented Demons, which are going to be available in the starting area, I think that's going to be really fun. Especially when you're doing Slayer, just like infinite special attack and just melt everything. Overgrowth for that automated farming, really hyped up for that. I hate farming. I basically pick relics for skills that I hate to train, and then we don't know what the last tier is gonna be yet, besides the fact that it is going to be some sort of combat relic, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But If you want to follow me on my league's journey, make sure to find me, UJack OSRS, here on YouTube. I've also got a massive playlist of a ton of league information, all the area deep dives, the daily leaks. I'm going to be having some other guides around builds and things like that as we get closer to the league. So with that, I will hand it back over to Kaoz. Thanks for having me, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something useful. Like I said at the beginning of the video, tell me your plan for Leagues 5 in a comment below, and if you include the term RSN and your username in your comment, 3 subscribers will walk away with a bond, so make sure to hit that big button on your way out. I want to give a huge shout out to all the people you see on screen for supporting the channel monetarily, all of which goes towards keeping my family healthy and happy. If you enjoy what I do here, click the join button below to see all of the cool perks and rewards you can get in the videos, in the live streams, and of course in the Discord for a monthly pledge. In the next one, I will make one final Leagues 5 video going over topics such as if you should play or not, and a good opening strategy to maximize points in case you are just looking to get your cosmetics. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.